Thank you for joining me for what I'm more or less calling my story/spoiler run through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This is your warning that from this point forward, this video and all of the videos in this series are full of spoilers and speculation for the complete story in Rebirth, so everything we're given in-game. It will be looking at ideas and elements from Remake as well as the original Final Fantasy VII, start to finish, so including beyond where we are in the story, the whole story start to finish of OG7. It will be incorporating ideas and plot elements from the books, On the Way to a Smile, The Kids Are All Right, Tale of Two Pasts. It will probably come up once or twice discussing Advent Children, the movie, and I will give you fair warning, it is such a convoluted story. And going back through it, for how many times I've watched other people play, I've watched my play, I've recorded these videos, as many times as I've gone through it, there's always new ideas and thoughts that I have while doing stuff, so you'll see little interruptions occasionally throughout the video, like this! And those are just, during the editing process, something I forgot to mention. I came in and thought of it, and so added it in after fact. So if those are annoying, sorry, but it is what it is. So I want these to generate discussion. I want to hear your thoughts, so please join me in the comments. Tell me things that maybe I missed. If you see something you missed, let me know. If you think I'm wrong about something, please. If you think I'm going off into crazy town, if you think I'm on the right track, great, let's talk about it. Maybe discussion will raise some more ideas. Anyway, without further ado, thank you for joining me. I love this game. Hopefully you do too, so let's get into it. So here we are at the beginning of Chapter 5. We have just stuck aboard the Shinra 8. We're in the cargo hold, and Tifa and Aerith are about to have their let's talk business, boys, conversation. The beginning of which, the very beginning of this conversation has a little bit of lore here, and we'll get to it, and then I'll stop and talk about it for a second. So while they're doing this, I forget whether my little intro video that shows at the start of these says it or not, but thank you for being here, for joining me for this lore and story-only run. I'm enjoying going back through it and theory crafting this, and I've played through the game normally, playing through it on hard mode. I've watched other people play through multiple times on YouTube and Twitch and everything else, and it just, every time I could watch another scene and really stop to think about it, something new occurs to me. And hence, like, the little pop-up things here and all the notes that I keep bringing up. It just, this game is so convoluted and there's so many layers. I love it. It's fantastic.
Different here, isn't it?
Compared to Midgard?
I love that they brought them back, but not in a major way. Like, it just makes sense. And it's a nice bit of a callback, but there's no reason they would have stayed in Midgard. Like I said, I mean, it's going through some problems, and they're too rich and important to really hang around at the moment, so it makes sense that they've gone out to look at other prospects and do things. So it's perfectly in keeping with their characters.
Not bad.
Time for a little reconnaissance.
And Red, who hated getting pet by all the children, now immediately walks over and, hey, I'm gonna walk over here next to the kids, and look who comes to pet me. Yeah, he likes it. Okay, here we go. This should be them.
Ever see that Faz guy again? No, but there are times when I think I do, and I freeze up till I realize it's someone else. I bet.
So, Faz, if you've never read the, I always mess up the title. The Tales of Two Pasts, or whatever it is. I always get the title wrong when I'm saying it off the top of my head. But anyway, the backstory of Tifa and Aerith. Each of them tells a part of their history more or less to each other, but to the group at large. And it's most of it is narrated, I believe, while they're on the road from Midgard to Calm. And so the person they're talking about, Faz, is Faz Hicks, I think. Yeah, Faz Hicks. And he worked in Hojo's lab. I don't remember exactly what his status was. I don't think he was anything, a scientist necessarily, just a sort of a lab tech sort. And he helped Afalna like move out of a wheelchair into her bed after the experiments Hojo was running. When her pain was too much, he found a way to get her some pain medicine to help her cope. And he developed a massive crush on Afalna, fostered on purpose by her as a means of escaping. And yes, I mean, she manipulates him and his feelings to help get her and Aerith out of Shinra Tower. And he tells her about the church in, was it Sector 5? Aerith's church. He tells her about that and says, hey, maybe we'll go there sometime. And Afalna then is like, no, that sounds like a terrible place. I don't want to go there. That sounds bad. I don't remember exactly how she described it, but basically she puts it down and downplays it so much to make him think that she has zero interest in it and hates the idea, etc. When in reality, Afalna is planning on going that direction, and so it's to throw him off. Faz does not strike me as being all that bright. He's not the giant hulking dope who gets, he's not who someone plays on his emotions and he's just not smart enough. He doesn't strike me as that level of lower intelligence, I guess, but just he's not the sharpest pencil in the box, perhaps. So smart enough to work in Hojo's lab and arrange things to help them out, etc., but dumb enough to get taken advantage of and have Afalna play on his emotions. So, average-ish, probably. But, so they make good their escape. He sets everything up to get a home in, I guess the opposite direction would be Sector 3, slums or something, and he, takes out, pays for a house, gets everything all set up, thinking they're going to go live together. Afalna gets out of Shinra, changes the plans, runs off with Aerith, goes a different direction, and I don't think Afalna ever sees Faz again. Because I think she dies, obviously, during that end of the escape process, and Aerith gets taken in by Elmira. Aerith does meet up with Faz briefly quite a bit later, and I don't remember how old she is, but he is still carrying a torch for Afalna, is a little bit crazy at this point. Remarks to Aerith that, she's his Afalna, and it's a bit stalkery at that point. And Aerith then runs away. I think Afalna smacks him with something, or not Afalna, Elmira smacks him with something, and I think that's the end of him. Not dead, but I think that's pretty much the end of his part in the story. So that's what they're talking about. If you never read the books, you have no idea who they're talking about here, and you don't know whether this is an important bit that you should know something about and pay attention to that is then never brought up again, and you likely forgot about it, or you don't know. So that's where it's coming from. By the way, it is a good book, offers some good lore and nice storytelling about Tifa's history in Nibelheim as a kid up to the point where she leaves, and Aerith's childhood, mostly focusing after the escape and growing up with Elmira, etc. So there's a lot of good info in there. It's a very sweet storytelling, and you just sort of get more of a sense of the friendship building between the two women in particular, but also just sort of among the group as a whole. So
I'm here if you want to talk.
And see, here they are. I mean, they're just...
Well, actually,
They
I
become
was kinda
such
hoping we could
good
talk business.
friends. Which makes
What
Aerith
kind of
dying
business?
so sad for
No.
Tifa at the end.
Business.
That she loses someone that she has grown so close to in such a short amount of time.
That kind.
And this moment right here, where they're like, oh, we're going to talk about boys. You know who's going to come up in that conversation, come on.
It's me.
And you get the feeling that they're both kind of okay with it. Like I think either one of them would be happy if the other ended up with Cloud. I think if Cloud and Aerith got together, I think Tifa would be like,
So how's it looking up top?
but damn, good for her, good for him. He got, look at what a quality
Haven't seen any
girl
sign of Shinra.
Cloud just got. Gosh, that's great for them, and she would be sad, but she would be so happy for both of them. And Aerith
It's
would
been
be
an honor,
equally
Captain.
happy for both of them.
Captain.
And
Hey, about
I
this
think
deal
really
with this
just the
one,
fact that I think Aerith, I've always believed that Aerith knows more about her own ending in this story,
but personally,
and
I think
thus she knows that she and Cloud
nothing
can't
good
be
ever
together
came from
long
making
term.
deals with the devil.
And so
Shinra can't be trusted,
I think
no
she
matter
is
who's in
still
charge.
more than okay with Tifa
Ladies and gentlemen,
winning
this is
out,
the
if you
captain
will.
speaking. Good evening.
And
Welcome aboard the Shinra 8. We're sailing smoothly
it's
towards
healthy. I
Coastal
mean, it's
Zone.
in a weird way.
Expect
It's
to
a
arrive
very
right on
healthy
schedule. Though your
way
time
of
with
looking
us
at their
may be brief,
friendship and their
we wish you
potential
all a pleasant
relationships
voyage.
in
As for this
what
evening's
isn't so much a love
entertainment,
triangle
we
so
will
much
be
as
holding
is
Queen's
a love
Blood
straight line
tournament
with
in the lounge.
the women on either side of Cloud don't get any dirty
Guests
thoughts,
are welcome to join
and
the
it just sort of
regardless
being
of
which end of the line
experience.
Cloud ends up with. There's nothing animosity. There's no animosity or
You
ill
heard,
feelings
man.
between
To the
the two
lounge.
women
Come
to
on.
create a problem. I don't know how realistic that is. I certainly don't know that I've ever seen that play out in real life. Yeah, without getting too personal, but it's weird, and maybe it should be more realistic. In that reality should reflect this more, I mean. Anyway. So this might be a good chapter because it's so short and so is the next one. It might be a good time to talk a little bit about Queen's Blood and some of the lore that has been discussed there. Obviously, it's an appropriate chapter
Attention passengers.
for this reason.
The Queen's Blood tournament will be starting shortly. This is your last chance to sign up. The winner of today's competition will take ashore a trophy, as well as a fabulous prize. No cards of your own? No problem. Decks are available for rental, so come and join in the fun.
So if you don't like Queen's Blood, or if you've already played through it on your regular mode, you should be able to just go up to the counter and tell them you want to skip it and bypass the whole tournament, and
So, you
no big
playing?
deal.
I might.
But then you wouldn't get to watch Red Dance, and who doesn't want that?
See you around.
So that, of course, is Regina, and it's one of those names that you don't think twice about until it suddenly becomes extraordinarily important to her place in the story. Obviously, Regina means queen. And so Regina, obviously then being the Shadowblood Queen's chosen victim, the top dog in the thing, and your final opponent, etc. Yeah, her name is kind of important at that point. Regarding the lore of the Shadowblood Queen, I've seen a few things that I've read about and I've seen mentioned, so I think I'm going to pull up a video of the Shadowblood Queen, the story that we get a little bit later, and I'll do my commentary on it right here. Okay, switching over here to a video of the this one of the scenes later on with the Shadowblood Queen, where you actually hear the lore and history firsthand rather than me just describing it. So I'll let him talk it through, and I may pause it and add the comments here and there as we go on this video.
Come. Let me tell you a story. Once, there lived a queen of peerless beauty and compassion. She loved her people, and they in turn loved her. But one day, a change came over the queen. In the blink of an eye, her love turned to hate, her compassion to cruelty.
Now, the thinking on this one, and there is a certain amount of relevance or credence lent to this theory. I don't know, I haven't seen anything officially one way or the other, obviously, but it makes a bit of sense, is that the queen here may have been a real queen in the past, and the change that they're talking about there is Jenova. Now, I have seen some people in their commentary, either when they were playing or it was someone in their chat while they were playing, I don't remember honestly, saying that in the Temple of the Ancients, down towards the bottom, just before you get to the Demon Gate, or the Demon Wall area, that somewhere in there, amidst all the wall art and the lore that you're learning, there are images that look like the Shadowblood Queen and or the Emerald Witch. The only thing I can think of off the top of my head that I saw that looked like anything like the Emerald Witch is there's like a glowing figure with wings that looked more like the goddess Minerva as representing Crisis Core. I don't know if that's what they were referring to or not. I never saw firsthand what artwork or what images they were talking about. They said they saw stuff that looked like it. I don't know. But the thinking that I've seen in theories, and there is some support for this, is that either the queen they're talking about here was taken over by Jenova, or it's just a question of lore and that's been lost to myth, that the queen here could have been a Cetran. And one way or another, it comes back to Jenova causing this influence because we know she takes on the images and causes confusion and sows chaos and spreads darkness, if you will, by taking on the images. And so the idea, I think, is that she took over this image of the queen. I'm not sold that it's a Cetran queen that was taken over, but it seems more like something that she would do, especially when you think back to the end where you learn that the humans attacked the Cetrans. It seems more likely that Jenova was influencing the humans and spreading, sowing chaos and darkness that way. That's not to say that she didn't do something similar to the Cetrans, but I never really got the impression that the Cetrans were sort of a monarchy, for lack of a better term. They seemed much more communal, or maybe even, like a ruling council type of place. That they never struck me as a society that would have a central authority figure, a singular one at least. Whether they had some sort of a Congress type thing or just, Council of Elders, the Old Wives Council, God only knows what they had. But they struck me as something that more of a community rule, not a single focal point of authority that a queen would imply. So that seems like something more that the humans might have had. And that this was a nation somewhere out in the world that Jenova impersonated the queen, or killed her first and then impersonated her, whatever, and used that to spread her rule. Chances are, the origins of this are lost to myth, and that the story we get through the Shadowblood Queen lore and legend here is a bit of allegorical. But so I don't take any of the stuff that is said here quite literally, but you have to sort of think what would have actually happened that has been passed down as myth to tell this same story. So, and they say in the blink of an eye, so this is the sort of sudden change that something like Jenova suddenly taking over would lead to.
Fair and beauteous though she remained, her heart became black as pitch. Conquest was now her cause, her subjects mere fodder to feed her boundless ambition.
Visually here, I think it's interesting the literal spreading of the Shadowblood Queen card. When you think about spreading of Jenova's cells and them taking on the appearance and the black robes and spreading her influence that way, or Sephiroth's influence, depending on how you think about it. So I think that visually that's a tie-in there. So it's not just necessarily her spreading her army by taking over conquest of nations, but her influence and possibly literal spreading of her cells, if you will, a little more literally than just her nation going out and slaughtering people, spreading the nation's power, even though her people themselves are actually dying, as they're saying here.
And so her kingdom grew as her people perished.
Like that.
Until, that is, a ray of hope appeared.
Now, as far as the
A
Cetrans go,
sorceress who would be their salvation. The
this
Emerald
would be more likely to be a Cetran coming in to put a stop to things, either directly in as a, if this whole story is more allegorical for the Cetrans versus Jenova, or this may have been a Cetran coming in to this particular kingdom and freeing this kingdom. Color-wise, red has been indicative of the Gi, and not necessarily Sephiroth, but sort of that other side of things, mostly the Gi, to be honest. But it's that the things that don't associate with the life stream, and here is the Emerald Witch, green, which is very strongly associated with the life stream. And so, again, the metaphor here is that a Cetran could have used some of the power of the life stream to free whatever nation this was from Jenova's influence. I think I saw someone mention that this could also be the source of the Minerva story as the goddess. I'm not sure, because Crisis Core seemed to establish that there actually is some form of the goddess. And in the area underneath Benora, where you fight Genesis during the finale of Crisis Core, there are Cetran stones with Cetran lore, and it's information on, and that's all stuff that is linked to Loveless. I think. I know it's linked to Loveless, but I think that the stuff is of Cetran origin. And so the concept of the goddess and the divinity angle seems beyond just, oh, it's a Cetran who people thought was a goddess. Like, there actually seems to have been Minerva as the actual goddess of the world. How directly a role she plays in things is debatable depending on what story you're looking at, I guess. But she does seem to be there. So I don't think that this is necessarily a Minerva goddess type thing, so much it is probably a Cetran who helped free this land, possibly by using the power of the life stream, hence the green coloration and the Emerald Witch terminology.
Witch, they called her. And with her arcane powers, she led the people in rebellion, captured the Queen, and put her to death. Yet from the tyrant's body spilled blood as dark as shadow.
So, again, whether this was actually Jenova, and this is more lore and mythology and allegory, etc., or this was just an influenced woman, this queen, or and when I say if this was Jenova, I mean like Jenova, the whole frickin' thing somewhere, not just someone with some Jenova cells being transformed. So, I mean, the three sort of ideas there is it's actually friggin' Jenova of some sort, but this is more a story told about what happened way back when, so it's been translated through myth over the ages into this story of this queen. Or it is an actual queen who was under Jenova's influence or was being impersonated by someone using the Jenova's cells. Something along those lines. This part that gets to the tyrant's blood, the queen's blood spilling out, we've seen the whispers coming out, and we've seen the dark tendrils associated with Sephiroth and with Jenova and everything else. It could be something totally unrelated, but it could be related based on what we've seen. So, that it doesn't mean it is related, but it very easily supports that narrative, I guess. And from the wicked Ichor, the myriad fiends of the world were born. This is sort of the dark side of a creation myth. So this is the, from Pandora's box poured all the evils of the world. From this giant blood came such and such, and the monsters, and I mean, actual mythology is full of stuff like this. And so, the question again, how literal are we to take this sort of thing? Is this just an explanation for why there's monsters in the world? Maybe. I mean, this isn't FF8. There's no lunar cry. They don't pop down from the moon at once every couple hundred years or something. They came from somewhere. Are they evolution? That something just eventually turned into monsters, or have they always been here? Were they introduced as monsters fully fledged from some evil source like this? I don't know. We don't know enough about the full lore of Gaia to exactly see how this fits in. At least I don't. If you know more about this and can shed some light on this, by all means, please let me know in the comments. This strikes me as more of a origin mythology along the lines of, well, why is there thunder? Well, it's the gods bowling. That sort of explanation for why something happened. This is the explanation for why there are fiends in the world. Or an explanation,
And
rather.
from this wicked ichor, the myriad fiends of the world were born. And that is the story of the Shadowblood Queen. Some call it a parable, a myth,
Anyway,
a fairy tale, and I wish it were. But she is as real as you and I.
I don't doubt something is real.
And she
Now here we
is
are.
coming. Her resurrection. is
Resurrection.
nigh.
She's coming back. And what do we have behind him but this imagery of the black-robed man? Very similar to what we see in the real world of FF7. The clones, the degraded soldiers, etc. we've been following. We don't see the face. We don't see the back to verify the robe. But obviously the symbolism there is intentional and is linked, lending some credence again to some sort of connection between the Shadowblood Queen and Jenova. So, but I mean, he's saying here, some people call this all a myth, but she's real. He's not saying the whole bloody story behind it is real, but the Shadowblood Queen, there is some sort of entity there that is very real, and obviously at the end of the Shadowblood Queen quest, you interact with some personification of her. And the other piece of this that I think was interesting is that when you're talking with her, she calls Cloud a little puppet, which is very deliberately a term that Sephiroth uses to refer to Cloud as the puppet end of the game. And I think it comes up one other time. I don't remember specifically, but most obviously it's that final line of Sephiroth's after Aerith has been killed. And he says, your emotions are wrong, etc., because you're just a puppet. The infamous line that anybody who's played OG or has finished this game knows, that line of him calling him a puppet. And the fact that the Shadowblood Queen also calls Cloud a puppet, for why? There's no real reason for her to, I think is a bit telling and could lend itself to this theory that there is a connection between the Shadowblood Queen and Jenova. Now again, I don't know that the Shadowblood Queen is literally Jenova. My inclination is rather that it was a queen somewhere that either of a group of Cetrans or their descendants, or rather probably of humans. And it's so far back it's hard to tell. But it's also interesting that the final battle against Regina takes place in the ruins in Gongaga, and those ruins are the Gongaga region was settled by the descendants of the Cetrans. So it's possible that either I'm wondering if maybe this whole Shadowblood Queen incident happened after Jenova, and so the Cetrans were in decline at that point, and that's why. So it was their descendants that settled Gongaga, and it may, for all we know, that area of Gongaga may have been where her kingdom was. This Shadowblood Queen. I'm leaning that direction, honestly, because if you're resurrecting and you're this queen, it would make sense to me, from a storytelling perspective, that that would be the place where you're going to resurrect yourself. And she was on the verge of coming back. If she had gotten the final claws on Regina, she would have been reborn, if you will, through Regina. And so it would make sense that she would do that in the place where she used to rule. And Regina is already in Gongaga from a previous card battle with her in Gongaga Village. And then, so she's made her way down, she's been going that direction, and finally makes it down to the ruins for that final confrontation. So, I'm not 100% certain and set on this interpretation, but what seems to me that the Shadowblood Queen, was probably the queen of the descendants of the Cetrans. And I don't know whether how strong the Cetrans were still alive at that point. Could have just been through intermingling with humans that they were diluting, and this was a group that branched off, whatever, from the main Cetran colony where people lived, and settled in Gongaga, raised this powerful kingdom. If they had descendants of Cetrans, they probably would have had an edge over plain Jane humans. Made this kingdom, and then Jenova's influence, because if Jenova was already defeated by this time, because Jenova was a long friggin' time ago, if Jenova was already settled and done by that time, her influence may have spread out, and some of it settled in this person, maybe a piece of Jenova, because I don't think they found her whole body intact when they discovered her. She certainly seems to be missing some body parts here and there, so it's possible that some part of Jenova was carried away and infected and overtook this queen through some means. That's kind of the way I'm leaning on this whole thing. And then this whole idea of the resurrection of the Shadowblood Queen is not Jenova herself, but rather literally this queen that I'm thinking was influenced by Jenova, like almost like in a Sephiroth-esque sort of way, where she had more power than normal. And was able to imbue her spirit into something that then got into Ladrell and was infused in the cards. It's weird, cards being infected with spirits of things, but there's got to be some sort of mechanism there. And the fact that we're getting the black-robed individual imagery and the colors being used with the red versus the green of the live stream, etc. There's so many key clues that sort of lend themselves toward this interpretation. I want to know what's going to happen with Queen's Blood in Part 3, because it's such a fun game, it would be really weird for them to just not do it at all in Part 3. But we've sort of finished the story here by the end of the Shadowblood Queen combat and that whole storyline. And we've stopped her resurrection. But that doesn't mean to say that we can't get more lore on it, even if all we're doing is playing the card game. That's not to say that there isn't some other storyline going on off to the side that may not be the Shadowblood Queen herself being resurrected, but some other aspect related to the game. You know, we may just get more history on the people that settled in the Cetran ruins in southern Gongaga. We don't know, but I think I would be nice too if we got some more information along those lines, because they did such a good job building this up and playing this out that it would be weird if they didn't give us something else in Part 3, and it would be really nice if they gave us more lore and background and story to go with it instead of just more card game. If it's just more card game, I'll take it. I love Queen's Blood. It's fantastic. But the storyteller in me wants more story. So anyway, let's finish this off really fast and then go back to what we're doing on the boat.
Know what must be done. She cannot be allowed to return. She must not reclaim her throne.
And so here's where we found out that Ladrell has some form of consciousness and awareness of the real world because he knows who Cloud is.
You are our last hope, Cloud. I await you at the haunted hotel. You must hurry.
So anyway, there's that. I wonder, because we don't really know, we know the live stream is a thing. We don't really know if ghosts are a thing. So Ladrell having some form of consciousness and being able to reach out to all Queen's Blood players, because we're not the only person to see all these visions. We've talked to several players along the way as we rank up that have all seen some or all of these visions up to that point in the story. And so he's obviously able to reach out, so it does lend some credence to the ability to imbue some form of spirituality or spiritual presence or aura in the cards of some sort, because that's the only common factor, obviously. And the fact that you are then able to directly communicate with and interact with Ladrell, I think on my regular playthrough I raised the question of like, how is he even here? Is he actually a ghost, or is that there's some sort of programmed awareness into the holograms that are in the haunted hotel in the Gold Saucer, and he, transferred his consciousness into there, and he's managed to reach out through that somehow. I don't know. But it does sort of lend to this idea that there is the ability to go beyond the boundaries of this life in connection with this game of Queen's Blood and through the cards, etc. So the Shadowblood Queen obviously has some sort of connection to her card, and then Ladrell, more broadly speaking, has some sort of influence that he can communicate with people. So anyway, back to the boat for whatever's left here before regarding the tournament and before we get to more real story. Okay, so that was the Shadowblood Queen story. I don't know that there's really a whole lot more to say about it unless something occurs to me as we sort of wander around in here. I just want to talk about the tournament really fast. I thought it was great. I'm glad that it doesn't affect your ranking, but obviously the chance to get in a card battle with some of these people was just a lot of fun, and the fact that it doesn't hurt your relationship status. You can just go trash talk with Barrett a little bit and take Chadley down a peg, and Wise 2.0 or 3.0, I guess he is, really. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. I loved a way to bring in Andrea and Madame M. I'm a big fan of side quests. I love Shadowblood Queen, so this was a huge hit for me when I got here originally. And then, of course, Red. Come on. It's glorious to see. So, I think I'm just going to go skip the tournament here, and we'll go straight on to some storytelling. Or, because it's been so long since I've played Queen's Blood, I could play all the people on this boat and absolutely dominate them with an endgame deck. Let's do that.
I'm ready when you are. Wait, so, which should I view it?
Before we can, folks, Fields just touched his opponent.
Do I want to use this or this? There's more where that came from. You're mine.
Cloud's cool and composed. He's focused on match. Fields is going to need to get ahead of the game if he wants to win.
No one back.
Cloud keeps straight running as he maintains a solid advantage.
Ready. Wait, am I losing?
Fields looks asleep at the wheel. Wait, is he actually sleeping?
No one back. That's the way. You're mine.
Cloud isn't going to get the pressure one bit. Fields looks asleep at the wheel. Wait, is he actually sleeping?
No one back. Come on, man. Give me something. Use a little. I got this. No problem. Ready.
Cloud's opponent better watch out. He's hungry like a wolf for victory.
Oh, well. I lost.
Give it up for Cloud.
Okay.
Want me to go easy?
Want me to go easy?
All right. Your funeral, though.
I do love Aerith's mad
Oh,
face.
you're
It's
having a funeral,
adorable.
all right. I'm gonna bury you.
I'm ready when you are.
Maybe that's what they're win.
Don't hold back.
Cloud keeps coming. I maintain a solid advantage.
What to do?
Cloud is cool and composed. He's focused, unmatched.
Oh yeah, I got a good feeling about this.
That smile says it all, folks. Aerith knows she's winning this one.
Okay, I'm on a roll.
I'm just getting warmed up. You're mine.
Cloud's gonna need to up his game if he wants to survive.
Oh yeah, I got a good feeling about this.
An astute and amazing play from Aerith.
Don't hold back.
He may be down, ladies and gentlemen, but Cloud is not out.
What to do?
An astute and amazing play from Aerith. Cloud keeps coming as he maintains a solid advantage. Aerith's got her opponent in the palm of her hand.
Not great, but I'm still turning around.
It might be all over for Aerith this round.
You're mine.
Cloud isn't putting up the pressure one bit.
That's the way. Don't hold back.
Not great, but I'm still turning around.
Aerith is in trouble. Rose keeps survive. Cloud's opponent better watch out. He's hungry like a wolf for victory.
You got this. No problem. You're mine.
Not great, but I'm still turning around.
It might be all over for Aerith this round.
Dang, you really showed me. Maybe I should have let you go easy on me after all.
For the love
Cloud's
of
looking for his
you're
next
my
opponent,
next
folks.
opponent?
This decision could very well
Surely
determine his
you
fate
haven't
in
No one
today's
forgets you, Madam M.
Madam M? Back in Wall Market, we shared an intimate moment.
No, I remember. You're pretty hard to forget. Wait, why are you here? Vacation?
Pleasure is what I prefer, but it's business. Opportunities in Midgar are drying up, so I thought I'd try rubbing some of my friends out west the right way.
Right.
I love Madam M.
But I think that's enough idle chit-chat for now. Why don't we let our hands do the talking instead, hmm?
I'm ready when you are.
Now then, how shall I leave this time?
Madam M is fanning the flames of her foe's frustration. Cloud keeps coming as he maintains a solid advantage.
Ooh, you're going to be so after this.
Bring it.
Cloud is cool and composed. He's focused, unmatched.
Still pull this off. You're mine.
It'll take a miracle for Cloud to come back from this.
Healthy competition always gets a blood flowing.
This is no gentle massage, folks. Madam M is crushing it.
Don't hold back.
Oh dear, you're looking at stiff. Ooh, you're going to be so after this.
Bring it.
I've got you wrapped around my little finger.
Madam M must be winning. You can hear her cackling with delight.
You're mine.
Oh, you may have the upper hand now, just wait.
After this match, I think Madam M's the one who will massage. Cloud isn't putting up the pressure one bit.
That's the way. Don't hold back.
Oh, you may have the upper hand now, just wait.
After this match, I think Madam M's the one who will massage.
Bring it.
Cloud's opponent better watch out. He's hungry like a wolf for victory.
I got this. No problem. Don't hold back.
Oh, you may have the upper hand now, just wait.
After this match, I think Madam M's the one who will massage. Cloud isn't putting up the pressure one bit.
That's the way. You're mine.
Oh, you may have the upper hand now, just wait. Fine. You win, Cloud. I have to hand it to you, though. That performance certainly hit all the right spots.
And Cloud.
Would you like
You're in this.
Cheddars!
Correct. I was told that a sophisticated AI was competing today. I just had
Yeah, I
to
kicked that sophisticated AI's butt the first time around.
Oh no, not until if anyone were to feel threatened, it really ought to be you.
Someone's feeling confident.
I'd like to say that Chad doesn't matter trash talk, but I'm not really that better, so can't really say anything about it. There's a reason I don't trash talk because I can't.
I'm ready when you are.
Let's go down, they say.
It's no surprise that Charlie is projected to win.
Don't hold back.
Cloud keeps coming as he maintains a solid advantage.
Opponent's heart rate indicates fight or flight response.
There's more where that came from. Bring it.
Current projection show my victory is almost sure.
As Charlie is calculating, I can wait.
You're mine.
Cloud keeps coming as he maintains a solid advantage.
Opponent's heart rate indicates fight or flight response.
All right. So keep this up. Don't hold back.
How do you play? Has been flawless. Can he keep it up?
Bring it.
These are favorable conditions.
Nothing good.
Opponent exceed initial projections.
Aware of this step Charlie, but will it cost him here? Cloud opponent better watch out. He's hungry like a wolf for victory.
Opponent exceed initial projections.
I got this. No problem. You're mine.
Cloud isn't putting up the pressure one bit. Aware of this step Charlie, but will it cost him here?
Bring it.
Opponent exceed initial projections.
That's the way. Don't hold back.
Cloud opponent better watch out. He's hungry like a wolf for victory. Aware of this step Charlie, but will it cost him here?
I got this. No problem.
Nicely done, Cloud. That was quite the match, I must say. I'm looking forward to you winning it all.
You'll be a real boy someday, Cheddars.
Congratulations on making it to the finals. Allow me to escort you to the next match. Right this way, sir.
However, is formidable. Can he steal the title from his fearless
And the music has kicked in.
Regina reigns supreme?
Obviously, without having beaten the game, you would have no way of knowing, but this is the same music that plays during the final match versus Regina again in when you're playing for the Shadowblood Queen finale. Is this insane music that kicks in over the top during the combat.
So you're the one to beat.
The one to lose to. Regina Congan.
Yeah,
Queen
yeah.
of Cards.
Until now.
Aw, that's cute. Word of warning. I'm not just gonna beat you.
I could use the Shadowblood Queen against her, but
always says stuff like that. We'll see indeed.
This is obviously an endgame hand against level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish players, etc. So
I'm ready to move on.
That is kind of interesting.
Ready.
So, do you want me to pressure now or deploy with you first? And all set. Let's open the keep.
Regina does herself with every hand. It's incredible. Cloud's cool like a home. This book is punished.
Good mind.
Yes, you're not absolutely abysmal at this.
Well played by Regina. She's the one to beat, folks.
No holding back.
Cloud's future in this competition is looking pretty grim.
I'm just getting warmed up. Ready.
Seems like you're not even trying. And all set. Let's open the keep.
Victory is almost sure for Regina, and she knows it.
That's the way. Good mind.
Just you wait.
Cloud isn't letting up the pressure one bit.
No holding back.
Cloud is going to better watch out. He's hungry like a wolf for victory.
I got this. No problem. Ready.
Cloud isn't letting up the pressure one bit.
Good mind.
Cloud is going to better watch out. He's hungry like a wolf for victory.
That's the way. Ready.
Just you wait.
Cloud isn't letting up the pressure one bit.
No, there's no way I lost.
there's the fanfare back there again.
Believe it, folks.
Telling you, it's from the stamp show.
It's the upset of the century. The crowd is going wild. Ladies and gentlemen, after that heated battle, we are finally ready to crown the winner of tonight's tournament. I present to you
Not so fast, good captain. I've yet to show my hand.
Use a Michael Jackson beat without actually using Michael Jackson beat.
what a twist! At the 11th hour, a bold new challenger has taken the stage. But will our champion agree to face him? And is our man of mystery a contender? I know I can't wait to find out.
Seriously?
Though I am far from a humanoid, the illusion can be maintained with the aid of a little flamboyance. Impressed?
No.
Don't let prior knowledge blind you. Clear your mind and take another look. But enough talk. I've issued you a challenge, Cloud. Face me, if you dare.
Yeah. Hard pass. I've had enough cards for one night.
Come on, Cloud. Kick it
Tifa,
back.
how could you?
Got this, Red.
Oh yeah, it's on! It appears that Cloud has agreed to play an exhibition match. One last time. Get ready to shuffle!
All right then. Let's play. Still underestimating me. There's more where that came from. You're mine. Don't hold back. Still pull this off. Bring it. I'm just getting warmed up. Don't hold back. Still pull this off. You're mine. Nothing stirs a warrior spirit like a close battle. I love it. Okay, now turn this around somehow. Bring it. Well, are you prepared to admit defeat? That'll be good. Don't hold back. Okay, now turn this around somehow. Bring it. Nothing stirs a warrior spirit like a close battle. I love it. I got this. No problem. That's the way. You're mine. Nothing stirs a warrior spirit like a close battle. I love it. I got this. No problem. Bring it. That's the way.
How exhilarating. I may have lost, but that was a good match.
Close, too. How the hell did you get so good?
By watching others play, a hunter must be observant. I first learned the rules and then the strategy.
Don't light Andrea's crotch on fire, Red. A little close there, buddy.
Huh. Certainly paid off.
Ladies and gentlemen, our champion, Cloud Strife, for your magnificent performance tonight. I present to you this sparkling trophy. Congratulations.
Stamp victory theme.
And on that incredible note, our Queen's Blood tournament draw. Thank you again to our amazing. We hope all our passengers enjoy the tournament and that the remainder of your voyage.
That was a blast. I'll bet that.
Alright, so I just did the Queen's Blood there, barely just because I love the game and it's been a while since I've actually gotten to play it. Against these were pretty easy opponents, and I've got an end game deck, so it was just all in good fun. So I just sort of sped through it all there for you. Anyway, yeah, so we're about to get to the actual story part of this. I have to take a break because it's actually end of the night for me. So I'm going to pick up in just a second for you after resting here, and we get into the story bit of this chapter. So see you in just a second. So I was not initially sure, and I'm still not, and I'm not sure they tell us this, where these things come from that attack the ship. Whether this is experiments by Hojo, or some things that are just drawn to the presence of the Black Robes. I'm not sure, and I might pop up the assess on some of the monsters in here and see if there's anything to be gleaned from that. Because obviously Hojo's excited about what's going on, but I could never really tell from his initial reaction whether it's something he planned or was just like, oh, this is exciting, cool, you know, in his ridiculously evil way. Let's see.
Attention all passengers. We have an
Head up to the deck. These stairs will get you there.
Yeah.
military personnel are to report to the deck immediately.
Oh, there you are. Over here.
Hello.
Quickly. The whole ship is crawling with fiends. They're everywhere. Please, you have to help.
Copy. We're on.
Because typically fiends are not
I'll round up the stragglers.
controllable or
There's a lot
directable.
of ground to cover.
So,
You, give me a hand.
Lead the way.
Thanks. Follow me.
Come on.
I'm going to just run down and hop into one of the fights and see if any of the monsters have anything interesting on the assessment. And if there's not, then I'll just pop back out and pick up when the story kicks off. So we have, what, Scrutinize and something that starts with a V. Okay, Bionic Sentries created by Shinra's R&D. Okay, so infused with Jenova cells, causing them to mutate. Okay. So this would seem to be indicate that these are sent by Shinra. Okay, let's check the other ones now. Again, created by Shinra's R&D division, infused with Jenova cells. Interesting. Okay, so all the monsters here were designed by R&D, infused with Jenova, which puts them directly under Hojo. So this would seem to be a deliberate action on his part. I'm not sure if he's anticipating the results or what the goal of this was if he didn't know what was going to happen. So pick up when we have a little bit more to look at.
Look.
Okay, here should be our first combined entity. Now, these are the same things. We saw these are what attacked Sephiroth and Cloudzak in the reactor at Nibelheim. So these are presumably the creatures that Hojo created there, or some of them anyway. There's some connection. The fact that they're what Sephiroth cut down at the beginning of the Nibelheim incident when they got to the reactor. I don't know if he was making these there, or just some other sort of linked experimentation going on. But I don't know that it's a coincidence that this is what attacked when we were in there. Why is my camera being jumpy? Weird. Okay. Okay, mutated beings somehow fused with people in black robes, protected by tough exoskeleton. Okay, there's not really anything interesting on these guys specifically.
Those guys aren't being targeted at random.
Makes you wonder why here and now for this attack. Obviously, Hojo tries again later, but
Currently en route to Costa del Sol. Unidentified fiends have surrounded and boarded our vessel. A small contingent of troopers is engaging the creatures as we speak.
And?
The fiends have merged with some of the passengers. Tattooed men in black robes. I contacted public security, but they said this falls under your jurisdiction.
see, 'cause it seems right there that he's not expecting this result.
An intriguing development, this new mutation.
But the monsters that show up are R&D and would seem to have been specifically Hojo's thing.
Stronger being. How I envy your opportunity to be present for this epochal event.
Please don't zoom in on Hojo's face.
I must harvest a sample of its DNA.
So, what should we do?
See, like if this was a planned experiment on Hojo's part, I would expect him to have had someone on board to harvest the DNA and check the results, etc., even if he himself wasn't going to be there.
Do mark your body to aid in identification.
So this just seems awfully weird.
Barrett.
And the fact that here we get another one of these, and then also one of the critters from Hojo's lab in Remake drops in as well, right there. And more demonic entities, like it's just strongly linked to Hojo's lab. But, I mean, not to poo-poo Hojo's scientific process, but again, why aren't there here his actual people here observing, taking notes, taking samples, taking whatever the hell he does? Not like he doesn't have access to the black robe people and he couldn't have just done this in-house? Okay, here we are about to go down and confront Barrett, who's doing a solid job down there of protecting all these things.
Barrett!
Oh, hey. Been busting my ass trying to keep these guys alive.
And I see Yuffie there. I see the little arm guard.
Stand aside, now! Those rogue men have been merging with the fiends, becoming monstrosities bent on killing us all.
Not on their purpose, though.
But no more. Not on my ship.
Hey, take it easy.
Don't shoot! I'm not one of them, I swear! Holy shit!
I had to. For the sake of my passengers and crew.
Yeah, and the results are so much better here.
Guys, look at the dead guys!
The time has come for reunion.
Was that a bit of Jenova? Or just a bit of one of the monsters that had Jenova cells? Like, it was such a... I may have to zoom in on that and sort of get a better shot of that after the fact.
What is that? Keep it away from me!
Sephiroth?
Is he holding?
They say she's a monster. That she can peer inside you, into the very depths of your soul. That that she can become those you
Okay, he's holding it, whatever it
those
is.
you fear, those you love. And they call her Jenova.
Okay, there it is. Yeah, so a top secret Shinra experimental specimen. A fragment of its carcass. So that was a piece of Jenova, which it was in OG7. Which is just weird. Like, that just pieces of the carcass you kept running into that you'd fight Jenova. Granting its twisted form, able to induce hallucinations that warp the very space around it. Where did the chunk of Jenova come from, then? Because in OG7, I believe you see Sephiroth, with just a clone, and he flies off after you run into him, etc., and he leaves like a chunk behind that turns into the first Jenova that you fight. Really. So where did it come from here? Because the Black Robe guys, they didn't obviously have it with them already. They were, I wouldn't think. So was it brought by one of the Fiends? I'm not sure how that chunk got there that they then fused with this for this here. Anyway, I'll see you when this fight's done. Okay, so here's a Sephiroth. Unsure whether everyone can see him or just Cloud.
Don't let her fool you.
Cloud?
I'm no fool.
Which I think this is the first. No. Okay, no. So we had Sephiroth before the initial Tifa conversation in Calm, saying, she has no, I killed her. She has no scar or whatever. I forget all the bit, but anyway, it's the first seeds of doubt. Then this Sephiroth is saying, "Don't let her fool you." The obvious answer is referring to Jenova impersonating Tifa that is not actually happening, but Sephiroth is trying to drive that wedge and doubt into Cloud's head. Which makes perfect sense given the story we have. It seems to be, and I'm trying to remember all the instances where this sort of thing happens, it seems to only be the Sephiroths in Cloud's head that do this sort of warning. And I kind of wonder if that's significant in any way. I guess I'm not 100% certain how this game is going to play, and I honestly don't know really, when you get down to it, how it was in the OG, how you interpret it. How much of what's going on and the plot that's happening and the events being driven, how much of it is Jenova herself and how much of it is Sephiroth's will? Are those two in sync? Or is there some difference in goals and what they're hoping to get out of this? If not methodology, I guess partially who's in control of that relationship. Because Jenova seems to only want, essentially, to destroy everything. She does not seem to have any interest in healing the world, saving the world, protecting it in any way, shape, or form. She wants to dominate and control, and then potentially, I guess, move on to the next planet. That seems to be the MO in sort of a Chrono Trigger Lavos style of arrangement. Sephiroth, ostensibly at least, is interested in protecting the planet. And whether that means killing all the humans on board or not, his idea of the, merging the worlds, using the black materia potentially, it's sort of the whether or not what you believe Sephiroth's goals to really be. And is Sephiroth using the power of Jenova, and Jenova, it becomes essentially just a will-less, mindless power that can be manipulated and taken advantage of and utilized? Or is the persona of Jenova still active in drawing all the pieces back together, and maybe the more get together, the stronger their will and her abilities become? We don't know. And so, if there's any part of Sephiroth that they're trying to redeem, and that has any goodwill, if crappy methodology, etc., but if there's any positive side to anything involved with Sephiroth, you could look back on some of this and see him talking to Cloud as a broader goal of, don't let Jenova fool you. I still may fool you, Sephiroth, but don't let Jenova fool you. And so the short-term answer could still be just driving the wedge between him and Tifa to screw with his head and drive the negative emotions in Cloud, which is a theme that I'm revisiting a lot in this story playthrough. More broadly, we could get to the end of part 3 or a ways down the road into it and find that Sephiroth's and Jenova's goals are not 100% in sync. And if he revisits the don't let her fool you theme, it could be him trying to give Cloud some sort of warning or a heads up, and to forewarned is forearmed, etc. Just trying to give Cloud a little bit of something to work with to eventually fight against Jenova. And then great, you beat Jenova, that's out of the way. Now I can do my final bit of my plan as the ultimate mastermind Sephiroth behind this. Because the end goal, the end enemy in OG7 wasn't Jenova, it was Sephiroth. You fight Jenova right before him at the very bottom of the crater in the end of the game, but you fight Jenova's big bulbous head or something, if I remember right. And then after that fight, then you get one-winged angel Sephiroth with the little feathery tentacles, and then after that you get the final one-on-one versus Sephiroth that Cloud wins. But I think it maybe there is more of a divergence in their will and their goals in this than we originally might have perceived. I don't know. It's something to keep in mind. I don't necessarily think that's what he's doing there. I think most of this is centered around just screwing with Cloud's head, driving the wedge with him and Tifa and the others. But I would not at all be surprised if we get to part 3 and find out that Sephiroth and Jenova's goals are not 100% in sync. That there's something else going on between them, even if he's just using us to get her out of the way so that he doesn't have to worry about her. And possibly she's hoping to get, that we'll get Sephiroth out of the way if his will is too strong for her to control. I don't know. I've heard that suggested somewhere. I can't say they're wrong. That Sephiroth is using Jenova, or Jenova is controlling or utilizing the imagery of Sephiroth, who is half of him at least is still alive in the live stream. So I don't know. I guess we'll see when we get there, but it's something to keep in mind, I think.
Good evening, everyone.
But I like that they start giving us the don't trust her bit by bit, not drowning us with it, but not dribbling it too slow to make it make sense. I think they did a good job with the pacing on how they're doing that part.
On behalf of the entire Shinra 8 crew, we wish you a peaceful night's sleep and hope you wake refreshed and ready for fun in the sun.
Yes, ignore the monsters of the nights previous. Everything's fine now. Goodbye.